Jai Shri Krishna. Dear devotees, now we enter Chapter 3 of the Gita, that is Karma Yoga, the path of selfless work. In the previous chapter, the Lord, through Sankhya Yoga, the path of analytical wisdom, gave the knowledge of the distinction between soul and body, and explained that once this wisdom is realized, there remains no cause for sorrow. After that, the Lord also said to walk the path of selfless work. This raised a doubt in Arjuna's mind, which he asks in verses 1 and 2. Krishna, you say that knowledge is higher than action, and yet you engage me in this terrible war. I cannot understand what is best for me. Your mixed words have somewhat confused me. So please fix it clearly and tell me one path. Explain to me what is truly beneficial for me, O Krishna. Smiling, the Lord replies in verses 3 to 8. I have told you two paths until now, the Sankhya, the path of analytical wisdom for the wise, Karma Yoga, the path of selfless work for the active. But merely renouncing action does not free one from its bonds, nor does mere abandonment of work clear away ignorance. The modes of material nature compel every being at every moment to act, whether wise or active. All are constantly engaged in action. One may restrain the body, but how can they restrain the mind? The senses may be stopped, but how can thought of objects be blocked? Whose body shows restraint, but whose mind still thinks of objects, that is hypocrisy. What can such a person ever gain? The right way is first to purify the mind, and then place control over the senses through the mind. Then engage the senses in action without desire. Thus follow the path of Karma Yoga, the selfless work. Tell me, how will life continue without action? If one lives, surely he must obtain food. The welfare of the soul lies in action, in upholding one's duty, one's dharma. Consider every action as an offering to God, a sacrifice. Thus realize the true essence of Karma Yoga. Actions filled with selfish motives bring only bondage and sorrow. You need not abandon action, only connect it with me. Then when you perform your duty as a sacrifice, you will be freed from all bondage of action. Dear devotees, so far the Lord explained that from the point of personal welfare, acting without desire and offering actions to Him is best. Now think, when we do our duty, our actions nourish others, and the actions of others and of nature nourish us. In this way, by performing action, we also help sustain the cosmic cycle. Now in verses 10 to 16 the Lord points to this. When we resolve to follow our path of duty, we lend a hand in sustaining creation's cycle. When Brahma, the Creator, first created living beings, along with them came duty in the form of yajna, the sacred offering. This alone will bring you prosperity, he declared. Thus Brahma, the Creator, set the cycle of creation in motion. When beings perform yajna, the sacred offering, the gods are nourished, and in turn, out of duty, the gods shower joy upon beings. Whatever the beings receive from the gods, they should eat only after offering it to the Lord. But those who enjoy without offering to the Lord, they are truly ungrateful and are called thieves. Saintly ones first offer to the Lord and then eat, therefore they are freed from the fruits of sin. But those who cook only for the pleasure of the tongue, they do not eat but partake of sin itself. Even if food has been earned by one's labor, still it is the earth that produces it. And for the earth to produce, it needs water from rain. And rain itself is brought by the cycle of sacred selfless offerings. Therefore in everything we enjoy there is a share of all, each carries a portion of the deeds of others. Thus it is our duty to receive only through offering, and to do our part in the cycle of creation. The Vedic scriptures have prescribed duties for all beings, but the Vedic scriptures themselves come from me, Brahman. I reside in all acts of sacred offerings, performed by beings with selfless intent. But those who turn away from duty, immersed only in sense pleasure, their lives are wasted. They are but a burden on earth. Dear devotees, until now the Lord explained why ordinary people must act. Now the Lord speaks of those who are absorbed in self-bliss, who have realized God, or of God Himself. Why do they still act? In verses 17 to 24 our Lord explains, one who finds joy only in the self, whose delight is only in the self. One fully content in the self, such a one is free of all duties. He has nothing to gain by acting, nor does he lose anything by not acting. He has no desires left with others, nor any thirst to gain anything. This does not mean such great souls do not act, only they act without the sense of doership. Therefore you too act, abandoning attachment, act connecting every deed to me, the Lord. In this way you will reach life's supreme goal, and be freed, Arjuna, from bondage of action. Even Janaka and others attained liberation through action, and for the welfare of the world too, action is best. For whatever the great ones practice, the common people follow in their steps. For me, in all three worlds, no duty remains, yet I act constantly, without attachment or aversion. I have nothing to gain in this world, yet I act to show the world the path. If even God does not act carefully, then the world too would neglect its duties. I would become the cause of this world's downfall, and tell me, how could I then establish righteousness? Dear devotees, the Lord has explained how the wise should act. But from the perspective of welfare of the world, what should the wise say to those who act with attachment? Should he stop them from their attached actions? Now in verses 25 to 29 the Lord makes this clear. The ignorant act with attachment, the wise should act the same, but without attachment. By this, even the ignorant will learn this art, seeing the wise, detachment will spread. The wise must never confuse the ignorant, nor ever stop them from action, O Arjuna. Rather, by acting themselves, they should engage others too in action, thus doing their part in sustaining the cycle of creation. It is the three modes of material nature that do all work in the world, but beings, due to ego, falsely claim doership. But the wise have realized this truth, that the modes of nature, the goodness, passion, and darkness act among themselves. Thus they are freed from attachment and have found the means to cut the bondage of action. But the ignorant, deluded by the modes of material nature, remain attached, though engaged in the right actions. The wise should not stop them from action, nor confuse them into becoming inactive. Now in verses 30 to 35 the Lord gives his clear decision, the very one Arjuna had asked for. Offer all actions to me, fix your mind at my feet. Abandon the hope of results, turn away from possessiveness. Remove all worry and sorrow from your heart. Rise up and perform your duty in this righteous war. One who faithfully follows my teaching will be freed from bondage of action and attain liberation. But one who finds fault in this teaching, consider him a fool. No such a one, devoid of wisdom, is already destroyed. Even the wise act according to their nature, and all beings follow their own nature. Then what can mere suppression achieve? The benefit comes only when one changes the feelings within. If attachment or aversion arises toward sense objects, one should, with wisdom, remove them. Attachment and aversion are enemies of the path of selfless work. The wise are those who do not fall under their control. Even if one's own duty has some flaws, still it must be followed, but copying another's duty is dangerous and must be avoided. To die performing one's own duty opens the door to welfare, and by doing so, one spreads the nectar of selfless work in the world. That is, do not live life by imitating others, rather purify your own nature by removing attachment and aversion. Then act according to your own nature and duty. This is the Lord's clear decision that Arjuna sought. Dear devotees, now Arjuna understood what is best and why. But another important question arose in his mind. Now in verse 36 Arjuna asks on this subject. That often, even knowing what is right, we still do wrong actions. Why does this happen, Krishna? Who forces us into wrong actions against our will? Now in the final part of this chapter, in verses 37 to 43, the Lord answers. These desires and this anger, born of the mode of passion, only those who rise above both can escape from sin. Know them to be your greatest enemies, an unquenchable thirst. Just as dust covers a mirror, so do desires cover a person's knowledge. Entangled in desires, even the wise forget wisdom, yet these desires never end throughout life. Desires dwell in the senses, mind, and intellect, and from there they rise and destroy knowledge. Therefore, first gain control over the senses, then completely destroy these desires. Otherwise, desires will pull you down from the path of righteousness and duty, turning you away from self-realization and making you forget the way. To restrain the senses, place the reins of mind upon them, and bring the mind under the firm decision of the intellect. For lowest is the body, above it are the senses, above them is the mind. The intellect is higher than the mind. But the soul is supreme of all. Therefore no sense can mislead the mind when the mind is restrained by the decision of the intellect. So, considering the soul as supreme, steady yourself. Conquer desire and firmly establish yourself in selfless work. Dear devotees, thus in this chapter the Lord has explained that to act with faith, offering every action to Him as oblations and sacrifice, is the best option. When we remove the faults within ourselves, then karma yoga, the path of selfless work as an offering to the Lord, becomes natural. So this was chapter 3 of the Gita, Karma Yoga, the path of selfless work. In the next chapter, our Lord will carry this journey further. Until then, Jai Shri Krishna.